Hello and welcome back to the advice section, and I'll be teaching you how to monopolize and identify choke points. Now in front of you, any choke point on a map of any game is usually where you'll see a gap between two scenic pieces like this. Now the thing about choke points is that they force enemies to group together into very tight bundles, making them easier to attack. What you should be seeing now is the choke point now being taken over by a little ripple looking effect. This little ripple is to represent the enemy forces coming through. Like a tide, they're going to funnel through and push through that small gap. Now what will happen is when they overspill, they'll start flooding over into your base very easily and they can avoid attack. That's one thing you really don't want to happen into your bases or armies, to face a large force pouring out of one tiny point. What you prefer to have is to have all your forces taking out and holding an enemy while they're all bunched up together in a tiny little point, much like Leonidas did in 300. Right, the thing about choke points is that they're a double-edged sword. They can do to you what you plan to do to your enemy. And if your enemy has hold of a choke point, you'll suffer the consequences that I'm trying to get you to inflict upon your enemy. So the thing about choke points is get there first and make sure you have a viable position and a safe wall or blocker facility to prevent the enemy from taking hold of that choke point. So then they're forced to actually get something, move around, or charge you and suffer heavy losses. Doesn't matter how hard you try, if you go through a choke point, you're going to suffer maximised losses. And if anybody's using area of effect weapons, in a choke point where people are clumped together, you're going to maximise casualties near enough 100%. So basically, what you want to take care of in a choke point is if you see an enemy marching through it, you need to send area of effect weapons and or units that can deal multiple unit damages at the same time. So in Spellforce that could be anything from fire starters to if we think of it this way, if you start using blast templates in 40k or fire starters and Spellforce and somebody's coming through a choke point, lots of units are going to get hit at the same time, and any units that you use that affect multiple units will monopolize on that situation anyway. Hence why in Spellforce, if you use towers and you shield barge your way through, it's really effective, because your enemy has to funnel into those choke points and then they have to deal with your towers and your army force. So hopefully this little advice section has been helpful, and I hope to see you around maybe on episode 3 when we'll be talking about unit and army cohesion. See you there. Oh, and don't forget to rate, comment and subscribe.